Hey there, hi there, who there. Okay, so on August 8th, 2015, Sean Price, a rapper, also known as Ruck, part of a group called Helter Skelter, who was part of a larger supergroup in hip hop called Boot Camp Click, passed away. Sean Price uh, meant a lot to me in terms of keeping a base in hip hop, keeping hip hop to a pure, grimy, hyper masculine element that I actually don't really like. I may not even really agree with in terms of actual the way I live my life and how things run in the world, but I appreciate it in my hip hop. And of course, when somebody passes away in hip hop, I swear to God, I have to listen. This happened with when Pumpkinhead passed, uh, which I never really talked about, like open to anybody because like most of the people I would talk about that to aren't really in contact with. So I didn't really have anywhere to vent to. And Sean Price was the same thing, but I think I had a bigger emotional reaction to Sean Price passing, and so I had to do something and get off my chest. Well, I started listening to all of Sean Price's shit. From his Helter Skelter shit, from Boot Camp Click shit, to just his regular albums. And, I'm listening to Monkey Bars, and, I'm sitting there, and as somebody who is beginning to really do more things to make this world a better place, the open and tolerance, while I'm sitting there and I'm having real nostalgic moments about like the music, like real strong emotional connections to the music, because this is stuff I grew up with and the stuff that had shaped my musical life. I'm like, hey, yo, this shit is fucking terrible. Like a lot of the shit he's saying. And so that leads me to like the shit that what's acceptable in hip hop anymore? Like what's acceptable like to listen to in hip hop and stuff like that. So first you have to delve into like to the issue to the bigger issue of, does what you listen, watch, consume affect how you are? And I've always been a big proponent of no, it doesn't. But I also been a big proponent of like your parents have a lot to do with that. Like my parents did a really good job of telling me, hey, this shit on TV, this shit you see in the movies, it's not real. This is not what real life is. Like this was a story created to entertain you or and other people, and they did it with a lesser degree with music, but I was able to laterally apply that to music. Like, oh, this guy's telling a narrative. He's not actually out here with the nine. He's not actually out here with the Tommy gun. He's not spraying people up like unless he's T.I. He's not. That's not what they're doing, man. They're displaying stories they've seen in their surroundings in their hood, and retelling them because that's the life they've grown up and around, or they've been exposed to, and they're telling us, and that's our consumption. Like, there's a reason Jay-Z don't rap about stealing crack no more. He not around that. There's a reason Jay-Z raps about being blowing a mill, blowing a mill on dinner and drinks, because that's what Jay-Z does now. Like that nigga is not in the streets no more. Why would he rap about the streets no more? Like, so it's that basic understanding of, okay, this is what this is what this is, and this is how this is going. And you understand that? So uh, I've always felt that, especially with music, music can't make you feel a certain way. If you happy and then you put on some Joe Budden. That's not gonna make you emotional all of a fucking sudden. It's not gonna make you be like, yo, fuck that bitch. Da 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 da. That shit's not gonna happen. Like, that's not gonna happen. But what music does is enhance the mood you already in. If I'm hyped and then I put on some MOP, I'm hyper now. Like, I'm more hyped. Like, I want to do. I might have the inclination to do the shit that I want to do in that mood. You feel me? Like, so, like, if I'm sad, I can't put on some 112 or some Tank, and then all of a sudden I'm ready to fuck. But if I'm already in that mood and put on some Marvin Gaye, damn, like, I'm ready to go half on a baby right now, tonight. So that's the basis of what I'm talking about. So now that we have that out of the way, that music really can't affect your mood, it can only enhance the mood you're in, and can only affirm thought patterns that are already in your head through other things, your experiences, or what like that. Let's talk about censorship. I am really against it, hesitant against any censorship in hip hop. Not because, oh, it's free speech. No. Nothing that, because we had to fight for it. There was such a huge battle about censorship in hip hop to where the point where they almost made hip hop illegal. They look what they did to NWA, and even it might even, I can't remember if it was before or after that. No, it was after that. It was after that with True Live Crew, D. Snyder, and John Denver, where the fucking Republicans tried to shut down all quote unquote controversial music or whatever, and they would have done it if it wasn't for good old white and bright John Denver saying, "Nah, guys, this is," because they tried to flip John Denver because he was a upstanding white Christian male that these guys respected, and like, we can just get John Denver to flip, and then we can just shut these other two ruffians and hooligans and niggers down, and we like, look, we listened to one of them, man, and they just took our side. See, but John Denver was like, but, like, because they were like, oh, Rocky Mountain High wasn't really about smoking weed. Like, come on, guys, you understand, right, John? He's like, Rocky Mountain High was absolutely about smoking weed in the Rocky Mountains, and all censorship is wrong. So, shout out to John Denver. But we still got hit with the parental advisory label, which didn't affect sales like they thought it would. Like, that, if anything, like, that boosted sales, because, like, who listens to edited music? Talking to you, Walmart. So I'm really against editing a speech in an art form, and I know that opens up to a lot of hateful shit, even in hip hop, because hip hop is extremely, and it's less so today than it was in like 05 or 1997, but it's still extremely misogynistic. It's still extremely homophobic. It's there's a lot of the old guard, shout out to Lord Jamar, that believe it should be about this super alpha male, hyper aggressive thing, and anything else is a detriment to the community, and it's not natural or not what it should be, whatever. But there's a lot more of kids who either grew up in my era. There's a lot more people who grew up like, who was like, okay, this shit is okay to be emotional, Drake, but you can still be that nigga. It's okay to be super introspective and talk about, like, your hood and where you came from and how you got there, Kendrick. It's okay to be this deep person, like, the really respect where you came from, really enjoy your roots, but also to love the people around you, but also you want to smoke weed and lay up with your girl, bro. J. Cole. And I think that was a shift. Those three niggas definitely shifted Like, okay, so I can be in touch with who I am, but I can still enjoy the things I enjoy and not be demasculinized because of that. And we can get into this big thing about the false concepts of masculinity and femininity, but like that's not what I'm here about. I'm here about hip hop. So there you go. So the shift, and now we have motherfuckers coming up behind them, niggas younger than them that are pushing the boundaries even more. So there's tons of new shit, and there's a new thing. But at the core, because of how hip hop was born, there's always going to be a edge and aggressiveness to hip hop. It's changing because that's not the time we're in necessarily now. That's debatable because there's an active genocide against my people in this country, but uh, when there was a more active genocide against these people in our country, shout out to Reaganomics, shout out to the war on drugs. It's just that like there was a lot of anger, and that was the outlet. So there's hip hop's always going to be aggressive. That's hands down. Hip hop, in my eyes, like in my lifetime, will probably always be misogynistic. Hip hop, to a degree, will probably almost always be homophobic. I think that those are just facts we have to live with. And I'm not saying it's right, nor am I saying that you shouldn't strive to make better music, because you should. You absolutely should. If that's something you believe in, you believe, like, if you believe homophobia is wrong, if you believe misogyny is wrong, but you love hip hop and you want to do it, that's something you should strive to be like, I can make just this type of music without all of this shit. That's awesome, and you got them. If your bars are up, I'll fuck with you. But I think that we have to understand that we have to go where the art. We have to understand where the art begins and where like the message ends. Like I've gotten to the point where, at least in my hip hop listening experience, where I can look at something and be like, "Hey, yo, that's fucked up." Like, that is extremely fucked up and problematic, but at the same time, be like, yo, that bar was hot. Like, oh wow, that metaphor and that scheme were dope. But like, also, that's really fucked up. He would say that shit. And like, I go back and listen to, and I'm gonna just use this as an example. One of my all-time favorite eras of music was 2002, 2003. That's when Lord Willin dropped, which spawned one of my favorite rap groups, The Clips. And that was pure, I'm slinging this coke, I'm moving this white. And then that's also when Cameron dropped Come Home With Me, which was the height of Harlem rap. This is where we're at. This is what we're doing. The flash of money, getting bitches. That's what the height of it was. Cameron is 100% an ultimate fuckboy. That nigga called a girl's baby ugly on Instagram because she talked about this nigga's pants. This nigga's fuckboydom is like 110%. But you couldn't tell me, and you still can tell me, like, Come Home With Me is one of the greatest albums to come out of Harlem ever. And I will listen to it 100% word for word. I'll fuck with that whole album, from Old Boy to Bout It Part 3 to the rock. Everything on that track is fire to me, regardless of how problematic it is. But I understand that mindset is harmful. So I feel like that is the balance I'm living with. Yeah. So there you have it. And while we're on this discussion, there's a lot of there's been a huge backlash on rappers not making the cut, especially if they're white. Iggy Azalea is just, I feel she's like 2 steps from just not being welcomed anywhere in the industry, which I'm okay with. Macklemore, while I don't feel he's in the same category of blatant disrespect to the art and culture and craft that uh, Iggy is, I don't think he understands really like the lane he's in. And he handled the Kendrick situation like terribly. Mac Miller's done some fucked up shit. Uh, but like the fucked up shit he's done isn't enough to overshadow his music, which is his music has been solid. Asher Roth fell the fuck off because he wasn't hot, and so we're quick to dispel people in hip hop if your shit's not cracking, and I think that leads me to Eminem. Eminem is fucking awful. There's nothing good. Like the content of his music is fucking violent and terrible and fucking just disgusting. But we allow him to stay in hip hop. Do you know why we allow him to stay in hip hop? Because more than anything, what we value in hip hop is skill. We value skill over everything. There's a reason why Nicki Minaj did not flame out during her pop Harajuki Barbie era, where no nigga was that shit was strictly for white people. That shit was strictly for white people. There's a reason Common could drop Finding Forever, which was 100%, or no, not Finding Forever. There's a reason Common was able to drop Electric Circus and then still keep popping in like among lyricists, because Electric Circus was 110% for white people, and anybody to tell you difference is a fucking liar. There's a reason we let Andre 3000 wear a blouse wherever the fuck he wants to wear a fucking blouse at, because he's a top 3 lyricist. Skill over everything. And despite what you think about Eminem, despite what you think about his lyrics, despite what you think about, like, Eminem is one of the most technically sound rappers to have ever touched a mic. He is one of the better lyricists. I would put him in top 10. I got a lot of personal shit with Eminem I work through, but I'm not that much of an asshole where I won't deny the skill he has displayed. But yeah, lyricism wise, he's probably in the top 10. You don't get to where you're going, and you don't get to say the shit you say without being really, 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 really good. And people don't like the whole Benzino beef. A lot of people remember Benzino coming at him. He didn't like him because he was white. He made that plainly clear. And he didn't like him because of a lot of other things. And this is back when Benzino was running the Source, and he refused to put like a lot of M shit in the Source or like grade it properly. And made it clear like he was upset about that shit. And first of all, fuck Benzino and the Source, because they fucked up an artist from my state from blowing up, and they can suck a good portion and length of my dick. But Benzino then somehow got his hands on tape of a teenage Eminem. I think he was 16. He could have been older, could have been younger, saying horrendous shit about black females. That's when I stopped fucking with that nigga from jump. Like, I was like, oh, so that's how you really feel? You can fuck with our music, you can take our money, nigga. But our women aren't good enough for you. Well, fuck you then too, nigga. This nigga dropped a diss on that nigga like 2 weeks later, and nobody remembers the fact that he said that black women were fucking horrible and he would never fuck with them, and they were a waste of his time. Like you don't remember. And he eventually addressed the shit, but to one end. Like, he had to address the shit at some point, but like, never forget that shit. But like, we still allow him in here because he's really, really good at what he does. He's very, very good at rapping, and he raps very, very well. And like, to the opposite end of that spectrum, as for a group of music that mainly the lot of the listeners to are listeners, not consumers, but listeners, are young Christians, young black Christians, gospel rap never took off, because what they did is they sacrificed the art and the technique for the message, and it was never technically as good. And I mean, like, you're always, when your message overtakes your art to a degree, which I think that's kind of what happened to Nas a little bit, where like he wanted to get his message out, but like he went from like an A to a B, and you like, it was a lot to take in. Uh, A to a B technically in rapping skill. Like the drop off isn't noticeable unless you listen a lot, but like gospel rap never took off because it was awful. All of it was awful. I've never heard, like, honestly, 97% of all gospel rap I've heard has been straight hot garbage. But Eminem can talk about raping his mom and killing his wife repeatedly on every song, every goddamn album, every year. Oh, that nigga's one of the greatest of all time. They're talking about this nigga being the king of hip hop with that shit. So, skill over will, skill over the story. And I think we're coming into an era where the swing back's going to be real, and what you have to say has to be equal to what you rapping and how you rap it. But yeah, this was just a little thing I wanted to get off my chest, because like, as a fan of hip hop, but also as a citizen of the world, shout out to my high school for saying that's what we should be. But like, there's a lot of social issues that affect us, but at the same time, I like the shit, so I gotta pick my size, choose like how I want to be, but I really don't. So yeah, that's what that is. So I guess this is the end of this. I'm gonna probably have more later, but I really wanted to get that off my chest. I'm sorry for this long ass video, and I'm not gonna split it up because Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.